I'm Seran Glanfield, and I am a business coach and consultant to boutique fitness studios. So I work with a lot of Pilates studios on developing their businesses, on getting new clients in, on retaining clients, on the right pricing models. And I talk a lot about marketing. In fact, that's where we end up most of the time, because that really is what it's all about if you want to build the business side of a fitness studio.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So many questions of that.
I know.
And you started in Pilates too, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my Pilates is my second career. So I
Okay.
started, I actually worked on Wall Street for a number of years. And like a lot of people who made the switch from corporate to the Pilates world, I was like this close to just, burnout. And I wanted to do something that was fulfilling, that was for me, that was, yeah, just made the world a better place. And I found Pilates.
Not sensing any bitterness there
No,
at
no.
all.
I came across Pilates completely by accident. I was very fit. I consider myself to be very fit. I was very active, active. I ran most days. I was doing like half Ironman triathlons. I was like, I was very active.
Mhm.
And so when I took my first Pilates class, I was like, this is,
It's gonna be light work.
yeah. And then I
Yeah.
was like, no, 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 no. There's way more to this. There's, it's just, what is this? And, I'm kind of a lifelong learner. So I just wanted to know more about it, wanted to know what it was. So I continued to take all the sessions. And then when I decided I wanted to do something different professionally, I just wanted to immerse myself in that world and to learn more about it and to teach it and to share it, right? Because I believed in
Yes.
it so much, like so many do.
Right, right. So I love hearing the stories of the runner or the athlete who comes in and gets their butt kicked by the first class and then decides, makes their pivot from there, lick your wounds and never show up again, or own this
Keep
thing that just
going.
owned you today, right?
Yeah.
So what were you training for at the time? Were you doing races and all those things?
Yeah, I was doing, I didn't do it. I did a handful of triathlons. I did 2 half Ironman triathlons, and
Okay.
I was doing what I would thought at the time was cross training, right? But I have to say, I didn't, I did the 2 big races like a year apart. And the first time I did it, I just started doing some Pilates. The second one I did, I'd been doing it for a lot longer. I'd been doing it more
Yes.
regularly.
Right.
And I had someone came up to me at the end of the race after my second race and said to me, "Wow, your form in your running was like unbelievable." And I was like, "It's 100% down to Pilates, like
Yes.
100%."
Yes.
And I finished the race and I felt totally fine. And I was, yeah. And I didn't have any issues after the fact. Didn't take me that long to
Shin
recover. Like,
splints or
no,
yeah, right.
nothing. And I 100% put it down to doing Pilates multiple times a week. It was a lot,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's it. So with that, and just hang on the Pilates thing for a moment, did that influence your teaching in terms of making Pilates a performance thing? Like this can help you better, like as opposed to a corrective exercise thing where, you know what I mean? Like our experience really informs how we present the brand of Pilates, right?
Yes, it does. It really does. And I taught in New York City. I was fortunate to work in a very busy studio, and I got to work with all sorts of different types of bodies and people, and with different goals. But I think that I really did enjoy working with those people who were very active elsewhere. I worked with a lot of cyclists, a couple of other runners and triathletes as well. So and that was just, it was, I just felt more connected to that type of a client, just I think because of
Yes.
my experience. I think that's fair to say for most people.
Sure, absolutely. Whether it's
Yeah.
experience or an injury too, right? Like if you had knee surgery, then you find you have a lot of knee rehab people coming in, right? That sort of thing.
Right. Oh,
So
it's so funny how that works. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
nice. So
Yeah.
you go from Wall Street to Pilates.
I did. I went from Wall Street to Pilates, and I took a few, I feel like I got a really good, I felt like I was very blessed to be in the place that I was. I was in New York City. It was 2008, 2009. And I got to work with, some really wonderful teachers that
Sure.
I got to learn so much from. and I met some, Pilates people are great. Honestly, I really do think that it brings us together in so many ways. And I think, I was very fortunate to get to work with some really wonderful teachers and meet some wonderful people that I'm really, still close to now and have worked with for years.
Right.
And I taught for, I taught for 5 years or so after my program. But I was always in the business side of it. Like, I was always thinking, okay, what am I going to, where am I going to do this? And I thought I was going to open the series of studios or at least one, many studios. That was kind of my goal. And I actually found the little notebook that I would sit on the subway and like write all of my ideas down. And I found it in a bag like a couple of months ago. And it was like, wow, so much inspiration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So then with that, like, do you look back on those ideas? Like, I could still I could still execute this idea right now. Like, are there things that you look back at it like, I should do that now? So.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that I have incorporated into my business now and that I teach the people that I work with. Mm-hmm. And one of the, there was a lot, I think it was a lot about programming and designing programs and that sort of stuff that I was, and different marketing tactics that, a lot of the marketing tactics have evolved. Obviously, it was a very different world back then in so many ways when it comes to marketing. But, the experience you give to your clients is really the foundation of much of what your marketing kind of sits on. And so there was a lot around that I was kind of brainstorming and thinking through. So
yeah. And that resonates with me, in looking at the business side of it. When you came into the Pilates world, and not to knock any of the teachers or the students that you worked in, but did you look at it like, okay, there's so many opportunities here that people haven't really capitalized on yet because they're looking at it through the Pilates world, the fitness world in general, we're all like warm fuzzy, want to help people, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of business stuff that sometimes is missing. So did you look at it from your Wall Street eyes and said, okay, there's a lot of opportunities here that we can do things differently. And if I have an opportunity to do it, I'm going to do it this way.
Well, it's interesting. What I came at it with the perspective of, I love this method. Why isn't everyone doing it?
Yes.
And the world that I was in was, there was a lot of sort of like, let's keep it to ourselves. Okay. And we want to make it super exclusive. It's only, we don't want to share this. We want to keep it.
Type mindset.
Yeah. And that trickled down, even if you didn't necessarily sort of embody that as a teacher, that does trickle down into the way that you think about your business and your marketing. And you tend to get very sort of inward focused and less sort of big picture focused. And so, I came at it from the perspective of, there's a lot of opportunities in this, because without doing an awful lot, you could reach more people with this method. You could have a business that really is, really truly accessible. Thriving and accessible. And, but also that, the teachers that I met and I got amazing, I feel so blessed, but they had such a wealth of information and such a wealth of knowledge. And there was such incredibly inspiring teachers that I was like, I want everyone to know who you are. Everyone should know who you are, not just the people in this relatively small world.
Yes.
What I felt really quite strongly about was that a lot of the teachers that I really respected for all of that, they were successful in some ways, but they also didn't necessarily have this sort of thriving business that I would have sort of expected them to have. And so as a teacher, and I'm looking ahead and I'm thinking, okay, where am I going to go? Where's my path? What does that look like? Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing where this goes, because I want to have a studio that can give, that I can live from the income off of, right?
Yes.
And I want to be known, and I want to have a great, strong brand. And I was struggling to find the people who were doing all of those things, because there was just a lot of things, missing pieces of the puzzle. I say it's like there's missing pieces of the puzzle.
That reminds me of this client I had when I was working at, like, a long time ago in this one gym, and he was a teacher and he enjoyed teaching, and then he had an opportunity to do some work in sales, and I can't remember what it was, like maybe tech sales or something. And he left teaching because he was really frustrated with the fact that if you were a fabulous teacher that was, going and doing courses in the summers and improving your education, or if you were a terrible teacher that was just riding out your pension at the end of your retirement, you all got paid the same pay scale, whatever it is. Whereas in the sales side, if you worked harder, you got compensated better. So it wasn't necessarily he was chasing dollars as much as he didn't like the fact that the person who was super educated and was trying to get better was getting paid the exact same as someone who wasn't trying at all. And it made me think about that, it wasn't, once again, he wasn't chasing the dollars, but he was just mad at the fact that your education wasn't being compensated, it didn't commensurate with what you were actually doing.
Right.
And sometimes I see it in the Pilates studios too, right? Where people are super smart, super crazy educated and really diving deep on it. But then if you're to look at it, really, they're not making that much money doing what they love. So how do we find that sweet spot where they can get compensated for all the energy and investment and education they're putting in at the same time?
Great question. And I spend a lot of time, that's what I focus on with my clients, because I believe that, and I know that if you can communicate the value of what you do, and that's wrapped up in all of the education you've invested in your profession, and you can communicate that, then you can get to a point where you can differentiate yourself from others.
Yes.
And I know that teachers and studio owners, we invest a lot in professional education,
Right.
a lot, and continuing education, a lot of time, a lot of money. And it blows my mind that we don't share that with the community that in a way that defines or distinguishes of how much value added that means as a teacher. If
Gotcha.
you're a teacher
Yes.
who takes continuing education classes or sessions or programs every year, as a teacher, you're growing, you're learning new things, and you're implementing some of those new ideas and things that you've learned into the way that you teach your clients, therefore getting them perhaps better results and better outcomes than
Right.
if you didn't have that training. And that's the whole idea of doing the training, right?
Of course.
And
yes.
so but if we're just sort of sitting on that, and sometimes we expect clients to just know, and they don't know because they haven't
Right.
been to the 50 other studios that they could be going to.
That's exactly
they just
it.
know what you do. And
Yes.
so they don't know that you've necessarily not, that you've done all this continuation, and that you actually are a very well-informed, educated teacher with a ton of experience. They don't know that unless you tell them.
Right.
And so then the question is, okay, well, and the question comes up to me is okay, well, how do I tell them? And that's when we get into all of these little marketing tactics and skills and tools that you can use to inform and educate your clients on what makes you, you, and how helping you to stand out, and, making sure that all of that money and time you've invested in growing professionally is actually going to, bring you more clients, and make sure your existing clients stick around, right? That's what we want.
Yes. Right. So here's the hard question. How do we, in one hand, get paid what we're worth, but at the same time help as many people as possible, which means that there may be people that can't afford to pay what we're worth?
Yeah, great question. Great question. And this is really very especially true for Pilates. And I work with a lot of other studios as well, and it's not as much of it's not a question that comes up half as much. There are lots of ways to do it, and it depends on your business model, right?
Okay.
And you choose which business model you want and what pricing structure and what pricing model you want.
Yes.
And really that comes back to, okay, what's the vision you have for your business? What type of business do you want for you? Do you want to serve a small number of clients who are going to pay you top dollar? Or do you want to serve a larger number of people who pay less, right? Because that's kind of really all there is. there's other things
Exactly.
You can do, right? But
Right.
there's not, so, and both can, by the way, no, one is not better than the other. You can deliver a phenomenal class to a class of 25 people, just as much as you can deliver a phenomenal class to a single person, right?
Right.
You decide what that value looks like. And so you have to decide what you want your business to look like. What is going to be aligned with your values, what you want, what your vision for your business looks like, what that means, and then what business model makes sense for you to reach your vision.
Yes.
And this is where that comparisonitis thing comes into play. Because
comparisonitis? Is that the phrase?
Comparisonitis. Yeah.
Excuse me while I write that down. Yes.
Right? Because what happens is you look around and you say, okay, well, this person looks like they're like mega successful online
Yes.
because they're, oh my gosh, the Instagram feed is beautiful and they've got
Yes.
they just keep posting and they're have this many followers.
Yes.
And are they really is their business aligned with their vision? Maybe, maybe not. Are they really making the revenue that you think they're making based on their Instagram feed?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, maybe not.
Right.
It's always really interesting. And I find that, when it comes to sort of figuring out how to serve your clients, you really just have to start with thinking about what you want for your business first, and then kind of reverse engineer.
Yes. So when I asked you that question, you said, great question. It really isn't a great question. Because the question that you should be asking is, what is your vision? Not how do I make money?
Right. Right.
You could have just said,
well, no, I mean, look, I get asked a lot of questions that,
Yes.
it's
I'm just playing with you.
Yeah, I know. It's the harder question, right, to ask. Like,
Yes.
what's your vision? Like many people, most people can't answer that.
Right.
But I will say, what do you want from your business? And they'll tell me, I want to make more money.
Yes.
How do I do that? I'm like, well, first of all, let's talk about what you want. How do you want to work in your business? What do you want your business to do for you? What do you need from your business financially and from a fulfillment perspective? So,
do you find it easier for people to flesh that out by saying what they don't want?
That is often easier. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
Most people know what they don't want more than being able to articulate what they want.
Yes.
It's interesting. Right. I don't know what that is. That's about something. I don't know.
I don't know. That's, yeah, it is. It's true. It's easy. I mean, I know, for example, when I was doing personal training, if someone came to me and said, I'm training for a bodybuilding competition, I'd be like, okay, well, peace out. There's Curtis and he could help you, sort of thing. I just know that's not my thing. But if someone said something else, then I could, okay, well, I can help you with that, right? So maybe when we start to just X out the things that we don't like.
Yeah,
and
that helps.
Yeah.
It really does help. A lot of folks will tell me that they don't want to work more hours. A lot of people will tell me they don't want to teach classes. A lot of people tell me they don't want to teach one-on-ones. A lot of people right now tell me they don't want to teach online. And then a lot of other people tell me that's what they want to do,
Yes.
So there's, and that's, you have to do, what you want to do, what's best for you. And people get excited about different things,
Yes, exactly. I love asking the question what people get excited about. And actually in the comments section, for those of you who are watching, if you just give me like a thumbs up if you have a vision statement, like if you know who you want to work with, if you have boiled that down for yourself or for your business, just a thumbs up, just out of curiosity, total informal poll.
We'll see.
Yes. We will see. And it's just interesting because like you said, when we start asking these questions about how much money we make and what we want to look like in that comparisonitis. That sort of thing that happens because we really don't know what we want, so it's easy to look at everything out there and just chase, run in 6 different directions at the same time.
Right. And I see
Pilates, yes. Darian Pilates, yes.
Kim, yay.
Yes. Exactly. So, and if you don't, that's fine too. No shame if you have a thumbs down. And that's, maybe we can unpack that a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think, you kind of have to have a little bit of a runway underneath you, I think, to sort of play with different things and to see what you enjoy doing in your business.
Yes.
And because everyone truly, I've worked with hundreds of studios over the course of the last 9 years, and no 2 studios are anywhere close to being the same when it comes to the vision that they have, the skills that the owner has, the resources they have available, what they want their business to look like, what they want, the experience they want. Every single business is different, honestly. And I love that because I want to help I want to help the studio owners to reach what they want, right? I don't want to, there's no cookie cutter. There's no cookie cutter. There's a lot of people out there that will say, do this one thing and you will get that. No, like it's not that simple.
No, exactly.
But if you know what you enjoy doing in your business, that's a really great place to start.
Yes, absolutely. I've had the privilege of speaking with so many people here through this format, right? So,
Yeah.
just hundreds of people now at this point. And even with the thing that I'm most passionate about, I could think of maybe 3 or 4 people who share a similar passion. And then with those 3 or 4 people, the way that our how is different. The expression of that is different. So it just speaks to how unique that is. Like I've had a ton of people say that they love working with men. Say, okay, great. And then I have, men that say they love working with men. Okay, oh, that's awesome. And then of those men who loves working with men, one of them is really passionate about working with surfers. I'm like, okay, well, I don't even swim, so you can have that. Right? You see what I'm saying? So like, even when we distill it down to our very most passionate thing, there's still uniqueness within that.
100%, 100%. And I mean, it's really fun to be able to really dive into that with teachers and with studio owners as well, to hear what people, and because everyone is passionate about different things and really different things. And I think if you want to stay fulfilled as a business owner, you have to be doing things that make you happy and get you excited, right?
Yes, exactly. I love the word fulfilled. I've been using that a lot the last couple of weeks. How would you define fulfilled? Like, what does that actually mean from your perspective when you're talking with people? I'm just reading Blaze Pilates' comment while you're thinking that.
Yeah.
So I'll read out loud to give you some time to.
Okay.
I
will. I think different people get fulfilled by different things.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Some people are fulfilled 100% by the financial goals element of it. Mm-hmm. Some people get fulfilled by the connection that they have. Some people get fulfilled by the acknowledgement they get, perhaps, or the accolades they have, right? So everyone is fulfilled by different things, and
community involvement, for example.
Yeah.
So like that could scratch this for somebody.
100%. Yeah, and so it's not for me to decide for you what that fulfillment looks like, but and I don't think there's a wrong answer, right? If you are 100% driven by financial goals, like, good for you. You're probably going to be really successful.
Yes.
But, but you have to be, I think you have to know what kind of makes you happy. And I think you have to be really careful about looking for other people's validation first before you can be fulfilled. So you have, I think when you're building a business, I talk a lot about, having goals, but then also thinking about, well, what does success look like to you, right? So what does fulfillment look like, right? And everyone, what does success look like to you? Does it mean teaching 35 hours a week? Or does it mean teaching 2 hours a day and having 10 other teachers in your studio, and you love to do the business stuff, right? Or do you love to host retreats and that's all you want to do, right? And everyone has a different thing. But you have to know, and I always we tend to miss the part where we say, okay, success for me looks like this, and I say, okay, well, if we go back to the vision question and we say, okay, what's the vision? What vision do you have for your business? And maybe they describe that. And I say, okay, well, step into that place a year or 2 from now. And when you've got there, what's happening around you? Because those are your measures for whether you've got there. Because if you don't ever decide, like if otherwise you're chasing something that's never going to happen.
Right, exactly.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now I'm looking at here there's Next Generation Pilates, which is Sarah, and she works a lot with teenagers.
Oh, great. Yeah.
Right, and she's in the UK somewhere, and then also Blaze Pilates is in Florida, and she has a martial arts background, so that gets woven into things. So the question I have though is, like, I think for Sarah working with teenagers is, how long do you stick with your strategy, with your vision, if it's not coming? You know what I mean? Because like it's one of those things to say, like in my case, I'm working with men. I want to have like more men in my studio and all these different things. But then at the same time, I have to pay my bills. And if I have 90% general population while I'm chasing after my vision, how do I balance it out, and when do I start saying no to my general population people to make room for my actual fulfilling people?
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I mean, that's a great question because that's one of those questions that is, there's no black
I'm
and
just
white
throwing all
answer
these
to
hard
that.
questions at you.
Yeah. It's fine. I love hard questions. I'm good with that.
I know you can
Um,
handle these.
if you know, what you're asking is you want to work with a specific type of client, but you have a lot of other people who aren't your ideal client. When do you sort of, how and when do you make the switch, right?
Right.
Well, the car has to come, you have to build that clientele before you can move your existing clientele along, right?
Yes. Right.
And that comes with being very targeted about your marketing to bring in that audience or that type of client, I should say, into your studio or into your sessions.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time because you're going to get a lot of your existing clients refer other people to you, and they are probably not your ideal client. But we want to tap into your ideal client and find out where they are and where they go and where
Yes.
they're hanging out so that you
Yes.
can go there and you can be in front of them and be visible to them. And then once you're
Yes.
visible to them and you're in front of them, having that right message, the marketing message that is aligned with and resonates with them and is compelling to those people, then you're going to bring those people in the door. But we
Yes.
can't just sit here and wait, you know. That honestly, I mean, maybe that'll work for you. Like, good for you if it does. Like,
Yeah.
magically, they'll kind of show up at your door one day. Wonderful
Yes.
if it does. But we have to be very proactive about going after those types of clients. And even then, you might have one day 50% of your clients be that ideal client, and 50% of your clients be other people.
Right. Exactly.
And that's okay. Um,
Yes.
as long as you have enough clients that light you up, you're in a good place.
Absolutely. Blaze Pilates says, I think that's a shift that comes from you within. You will attract them if you are clear.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big
Yeah.
fan of clear communication is really key. Yeah.
One of the things I was going to say earlier too, when we're talking about just understanding and figuring out who that is, I used to say when people were coming into the Pilates, into the personal training world, and even in the Pilates world too, to work in like a big box gym, or well, most of them in my area are closed down right now, but work in a large setting where you're going to see traffic that is from the myriad of different people groups that are out there, because I could have in my mind that I want to work with this population, but I just so happen to have this population coming in a lot. And I really realize that I have a passion for them, or I have a heart for this condition, or for this age population, or whatever it is. So if you're starting out, go into a setting where you're going to see just diversity, and
Mm-hmm.
that may help you to distill down to what you're most passionate about, as well as what you think it might be.
Yeah, if you get the opportunity to do that, I think that's, it's really valuable because you learn so much in that environment. You see so many different people and the different ways that what they're looking for is different, and the way that they seek that out, and the way that they interact with the teacher and the
Yes.
studio, and it's
Right.
all different, and
Absolutely.
it's interesting to see that.
And also, just to add on to that, I don't necessarily mean like quit your job and do that 40 hours a week. Like, you could just take like one community class, just have one class on a schedule at a community center. You know what I mean? So if you have your studio, have your main places, just have one spot that is just general population, low entry point, so you could see different people in there, and then that helps to have your foot on, or your finger on the pulse of what's happening in your community, and all the different people are out there, and those things. So that really helps as well.
Yeah, I mean, we do, we study the body in front of us, right, when you're teaching, but like
Yes.
when it comes to marketing your business, you're studying people, right?
Absolutely.
And what they're looking for, and what they do, and how you can help sort of guide them through your business. So there's a lot of, you have to be a people person. You have to enjoy all people, really, I think, to be successful in this business.
Absolutely. And then how much of this do you actually get into the psyche of the individual and their own confidence, and like Blaze Flies was saying a minute ago about from the inside out? like all these strategies are great, but if I'm physically not confident, or if I'm comparing my physical body to someone else's physical body as a pattern, I'm naturally going to do that with my business, and my confidence in what I can do and who I am also comes into it. So do you dig deep on that whole confidence piece as well?
We work on mindset shifts, and I
Okay.
have the way that I work with my clients is, I have um, this specific, I should say, there's common sort of mindset adjustments that we have to make to be able to sort of step into that role as a confident and as a confident marketer of our business.
Yes.
And I do talk about those a lot, and I do help guide people through those. But I'm all about taking action. I'm all about being proactive. I'm all about these small shifts that have a big impact in your business. And
Yes.
so, and I find that when you start taking action, you start to get momentum. And a lot of those things, those thoughts and feelings that hold you back, they just fall to the wayside because you start to see progress and you start to make progress. You start to get feedback. You start to see things working, and
Yes.
then you start,
You're in a
we're
good
not stuck
groove.
anymore. You're in a, yeah. And
Yeah.
so it kind of happens on its own, as
Right.
well. And I do have a group, like a group coaching program as well. And it's really wonderful to get people together, studio owners together and teachers together to talk about their businesses, because you do see that there are just, you're not alone in having
Yes.
these questions about yourself and your business and what that looks like. That there is that, we're all we're a lot of people, we're all in the same place. Like everybody every now and
Yes.
again has these sort of confidence crises and all of that kind of thing, because it's just, we're humans, like kind of somewhat designed that way.
Yes.
um, but if you are alone in that, it's way more difficult to get out of that place, as if
Yes.
you have some support around you, and that can be other studio owners or teachers or spouses or friends or family that can help you continue to stay positive, and you have that support network, then you're more likely to be able to sort of move through those sort of moments of,
Absolutely.
where you're
Yes.
struggling.
Yes, and as fitness professionals, we get it because we see our clients on that journey with their weight loss or with their health and fitness goals. Like we have to be the one to keep reminding them that they've made progress, so that they're the thing they couldn't do last week they can do this week. So if we always keep their progress in front of them, then they don't get discouraged with the fact that they still have 40 pounds to go, or they still can't do this, because we're saying, well, look over here, you can still do that, you can do this now, right? Like, so yeah, it's the
Yeah,
same thing within our own bodies as within our business in many ways.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of, the other thing I'll say is that when you start talking about some of those things that might be holding you back, and you're able to talk to them about them with someone you trust, they often they're not as big, right? And there's a lot
True.
of these things that come up. There's a lot of small questions that pop up about, and pricing is always a big one, right? Pricing
Okay.
is always a big question. What should I price? Is it too high? Is it too low? I think it's too expensive. All of this thing comes up. And sometimes all you need is for someone to say, no, you're good. You check that box. We'll move on to the next challenge, because
Right.
you're good where you are. And if it's not, then you can have the different things you can do at that moment, and you can go and ask for more help or what have you. But sometimes if you just talk about it and you have someone you can talk about it with, then
Sure.
it's not
Yeah.
as big of a deal.
Now, you've mentioned that about pricing. Is there a formula there, or is it just based on context, or is it based on your vision and how much money you want to make? Like, what are the parameters for talking about pricing?
Okay, pricing is a big topic. It's a
Mm,
huge topic. Um, so I'm a big fan of, there is no one way to price your classes or your sessions or your online platform. There is not one price that makes it sell more or less than, anything else.
okay.
Um, I don't believe in having only a membership type package. I don't believe in only have class passes. I don't believe in only having private. I don't believe in this one way. It has to align with what your business to look like. And for some
Okay.
people, a subscription works fantastic. For membership type setup works really well. It doesn't work for everyone. Truly, I've seen it fail,
Mm,
and I know that it's very popular right now, but
yes.
it's not for everybody, or every studio owner. Same goes for classes, same goes for private, same goes for packages. And it's all about, what do you want for your business? What do you want it to look like? What's the experience you want to deliver? The most important thing when it comes to pricing is that it is as easy as possible for your clients to buy from you. Right. So you're not hiding the pricing in like you're not telling them how much it's costing because you don't want to have the conversation. Right. You're not making it clear because you kind of are worried about it, and you're kind of self-sabotaging your own situation, by just making it too complicated. That happens. You want to make it just as very clear and transparent as possible, because when it comes to pricing, that's where you make or break that trust relationship. Right. That's a big part of that. And if they don't trust you, and when it comes to making that purchase, then your relationship is on shaky ground with your clients.
Absolutely.
So I don't believe in the one way, but there's different ways. And then within each of those kind of buckets of ways to price your classes or your sessions, there's different ways to optimize there, depending again on whether or not you have teachers or how often you want your clients to come and that sort of thing.
So are there any hard and fast formulas? Say, for example, like a partner session is 1.5 times, or like a group session be 50% of your private session. Or is there any formulas in there? Any hints?
I will say they're not really, because a lot of it depends on the absolute number, right? So I've seen, and a lot of people offer equipment classes, and tower, like reformer classes might be different to tower classes, and because depending on how many people are in the class, like, it really does vary.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to be vague here at all, but it just really does vary.
Not trying to be secretive.
I know. No. I would tell you if there was.
Yes. Okay. So can we do it like this? Let's say, for example, just for simple math's sake, I charge $100 for a private session, and after sitting down with you, we decided that is a good number for my private sessions. Do you take from that and say, okay, so if 100 is our baseline for a private, a group should cost this, a duet should cost this, online should cost this? Like, do we set up like in that way?
They all need to speak to each other, your pricing points. Yes.
Okay. That's the wording I was looking for. Do they speak to each other?
Yeah, they do. They do speak to each other. And that's really all about price anchoring. And it's less about, we get very stuck on the absolute numbers, but it's really about positioning that pricing.
Yes.
And being able, and what that represents, right?
Yes.
So
that's helpful.
One of the reasons why I can't give you a solid answer is because when I say to you, okay, well, I want to know what that experience, what am I getting for $100? Mm-hmm. I'm not, and because I don't, and if I can compare your $100 session to another studio's $100 session, then you two are like totally comparable to me, and I'm just going to pick the one that has the prettiest logo.
Right, exactly. Or geographically
closer, or whatever else. I'm not looking at what I'm going to get with that in that hour, what I'm going to get out of it, how I'm going to feel afterwards. Is it going to solve this like issue that I have with my knee that I've been suffering from for the last 6 months? I'm not taking any of that into consideration. I'm not talking about the years of experience you might have. I'm not talking about, how you you have focused on these things in the session. I'm not taking any of that into consideration if I'm just looking at the price. So when we're talking about pricing, my big kind of pet peeve is that we just focus on the price and nothing else. What I'm really encourage everybody that I work with to do is, you have to define the value that is inherent, and you have to define the value that's being transacted, right? So for $100, I'm going to get from you this, and it's an experience, but there's also an outcome.
Yes.
And what is that? And we have to define that and articulate that first before we can go out and sell that $100 class.
Yes.
So that's why I'm like, there's no formula, because guess what? You could sell a class for $100 as much as you can sell a session for $100 if you had that marketing like really dialed in. If you knew, and I've worked with teachers who teach privates for $40 an hour to $250 an hour, right?
Great.
Everyone's successful in their own place, right? There's no one number, but what am I getting for the $100 as a client? You need to know that, and then you can sell it. And then
Right.
you're saying, I'm not going to give you this session for $100. You're saying, I'm going to give you this experience. I'm going to make you feel this way. I'm going to make you feel that way. I'm going to get you out of this pain. I'm going to get you feeling energized again. Like all of this, you're positioning yourself as like totally uncomparable to the studio down the
Yes.
street, right? Which means that
Right.
then I'm not picking based on the price. I'm picking based on the value. Does
Yes.
that make sense?
Perfectly. That makes total sense, as we see with all the hearts coming up in the comment section. Right, because otherwise it's just like, okay, well, he has Grotz equipment and they have balance body equipment and
Yeah, but your clients don't know the difference.
exactly.
Right? So it's like we're thinking, so this is the thing. You say, I'm a classical Pilates teacher, I'm a contemporary Pilates teacher, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You have Gratz, I have, I don't know, something else, right? You
Yes.
have a spine corrector, I have a Bosipol, right? Like
Right.
clients, what's the difference? They have no idea. But we think they have somehow know all this stuff, but they don't know
Right.
any of it. They don't know.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
going, so then they default to price because we're not telling them like
Yes.
what really matters.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
So when people are defaulting to price, you know that you've done a poor job with your branding
Yeah, with your marketing. Yeah.
and your marketing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why I'm like, we can talk all about the price points and
So funny.
and I get sent charts of pricing all the time, but I want to know,
Yes.
okay, well, where is this going and how are you going to introduce this to your clients? And what
Yes.
else are you going to tell them that goes along with that number? Because that has to be there
Yes.
too.
Okay, so what needs to come along with my number? Like, what has to come along with my number? My education, their experience, what they're going to feel, how it's going to address their presenting problem, or like that's my counseling speak,
Yep.
their initial need or where they're coming to you for. Like, you need to answer those questions before they even ask them.
Yeah. So it's a conversation, right?
It is a conversation.
It's a
Yes.
conversation, and you want to understand what they're looking for a little bit as much, which is where that ideal client part as he comes into it. But
Yes.
if you can understand what your clients are looking for, and you know that you help them with that,
Mm-hmm.
because what you do is the way that you do it, and by the way that you do what you do is different to the other studio on the street. So
Yes.
let's tap into what that looks like and talk about that in our marketing and talk about that with our
Yes.
clients. And it's okay, by the way, to say, oh, here at this studio, I care about these three things. And this is the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing for me as a teacher, that you get these things. And that's like a great phrase to throw into that first session or one of those first sessions, because you're defining what you care about as a teacher,
Yes.
your brand values. You're starting to communicate sort of that a bit more about
Your
the essence of what you
philosophy.
do.
Yeah.
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 That's like when I was doing my master's in counseling, one of the things they made us do as our first assignment before we knew anything was write down your philosophy of counseling. And then 3 years later, after you've done all these courses on the different things, you write the exact same paper again when you formulated that. And you watch how that has changed over time. And I think that that's kind of what we're experiencing with our Pilates work. Like we start at the beginning of our conversation, just trying out different things and different people, and you have some idea what you want. And then as you mature in your work and you have more clients under your belt, to understand more of the people that you're working with, and you may take some classes that you really enjoyed, or you find a mentor that you really love working with and they're in line with what you're doing, then your messaging and your marketing becomes more clear.
Yeah.
And then from there, you're able to define your price and properly articulate the value within that price. And then you're rich.
And then you're rich. And then you have this amazing other idea about this other thing you want to do.
Right, exactly. But and actually, we say that in jest, but that's really it, because you then take those principles and you transplant that to something new.
Yeah. And you grow and you're constantly evolving.
Yes.
Constantly evolving. Because if it's not something professionally that is motivating you, then there's probably something personally that you want to do, and so you are constantly evolving, and you got to move with it, and you got to roll with it, and you got to keep trying new things and
Yes.
refining
Crazy.
what's working. Yeah.
Nice. So what's next for you then? So in your own business of coaching and stuff, where are you at and what's next for you?
So I just launched the Pilates Business podcast last week.
Yes, saw
Um,
that.
yeah, so that was a project that I had been. Wait, you know how long? It's not
I'm just
easy.
writing in the comments. So Pilates business, the
Podcast.
Pilates business podcast.
Yeah. And I've got I'm going to be sharing, a lot of insights about conversation I have with studios. I speak to a lot of people each week, and I think sometimes it's helpful to hear, what other people are thinking and doing, so that you perhaps can take some of those ideas and think, let me see, does that fit my vision? Does that fit my business too, or not? And
Yes.
some things will fit and some things won't fit.
Mm-hmm.
So I share some of those insights, and a lot of the things that I talked about today, a lot of these strategies and ideas about how to build and grow a business.
Sure.
And I'm also going to be interviewing some folks this week. Is Elisa Wyatt from Pilatesology. That's landed. So and I've got some really interesting conversations coming up as well. So
Great.
that's happening, which is super exciting. And then I'm working with my Thrive membership community. They're studio owners and we meet every week and we talk business and we do trainings and everything business related. And it's a great community of support and sharing of information and experience. And it's a really, honestly, a really wonderful group. Like I said, Pilates people are fantastic.
Yeah, I can
And when
see
you
in your
get,
smile, like you just love these people.
and you get them in a Zoom room together, and the support there is really phenomenal. And I think a lot of
Yes.
they've been with me for over a year. So all the way through COVID. And it has been, I think, a huge support for so many of them to get through that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
yeah, so that's what
Yes.
I love that group. And then I have my marketing intensive program, which is in week 5 of 6 weeks. So we do
Okay.
a boot camp marketing program for studio
Amazing.
owners. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on at Spring 3.
Great. Yeah. So in the chat section, I'll put all your handles so people
Yeah,
can follow you there.
yeah.
This will be a podcast in the next couple of weeks too. So I love like all the content you gave today. It really does whet people's appetite to learn more about what you do, and yeah, it was good. It was like just good like little bite-sized pieces. Like sometimes we get overwhelmed with so much information that we don't know what to do next,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So
I'm all
and
about
then
having a plan. All about having a
yes,
plan.
exactly.
One thing at a time. One thing at a time.
Nice. So good. And that's 59 minutes. So
Oh my
thank you so
gosh.
much for
Crazy.
joining me today. My alarm's going off in the background here. Um, yes, so
No,
fast.
it's been wonderful. Thank you so much. Can't believe time flew by. Time flew by.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, all the best in your business. I'm looking
Thank
forward to chatting
you.
with you more and picking your
Yes.
brain. And
Let's do it again soon. I'd love that.
absolutely. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. Next Generation Pilates. Yes, definitely check her out. Like, subscribe, and share the Pilates Business Podcast. Let's
Awesome.
get it. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate
So
it.
good to see you. Have a
All
great
right.
week.
Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.